the Biden administration today blaming everyone but themselves for the historic crisis at the border. But with only one day until Title 42 ends, is the White House prepared to deal with the upcoming flood of illegal migrants? Let's break it down with tonight's party panel. We've got comedian and Fox Across America radio host Jimmy Fallon, #1. And we've got Democrat strategist and Fox News contributor, also a radio host, Leslie Marshall is back. And senior editor and best-selling author from Reason, Robbie Suave, rounding things out. What a delightful night. Maybe not so delightful for some of those Border Patrol agents, Jim. What kind of pictures can we expect to see in the next 2 days?
It's bad. You know what it's going to look like? Remember that college bar that didn't check ID? That's our border right now. Biden has turned our country into the college bar that doesn't check ID. Once the word gets out that anyone can get in, everyone shows up. And that's what's going on. When Mayorkas says, the border's closed, you know, it's so closed that 10,000 people a day are getting in. Shame on this man, because they created this humanitarian crisis, and they're not coming because there is, I don't know, not a lack of legislation there. They're coming because they're getting in. Okay, it has nothing to do with the system they inherited and everything to do with the lack of security at the border. And really quickly, where are all the kids in cages people? Under Trump, we got kids in cages. Now it's Biden's migrant inclusion resort and spa? Like, where is the outrage?
There's no spa because they're not being held in custody because there's no room for them. I think that's what kind of scares me about this whole thing, Leslie, is this safe mass release program. They don't know it's safe. They just know that it's mass release. The whole thing is very confusing. You've got people who are being bused to, grocery store, parking lots, sidewalks, open parks. They don't really know where they're going. And, of course, you have unaccompanied minors in that fray, but you also have an administration that they don't know what they're doing. They don't know how to vet people. They don't know how to keep track of people. They don't know how to stem the tide. They know how to lie about it. Illegal immigration has not dropped by 90%. I mean, the pictures and the data show us that. So can you please make sense of this for me?
Yeah, I'll try. For almost 30 years, whether it was a Democrat or Republican in office, this has been a problem. So it's not been 2 decades, it's been more like 3. And one of the problems is whether you're vetting, whether you have more Border Patrol agents, that all comes down to money. No president, Donald Trump, Joe Biden, Bill Clinton, George Bush, Barack Obama, can just write a check and have border agents en masse and to take care of this, nor can they clear up 4 to 7 years backlog and put more money to put systems at the border. That does come down to Congress. We've tried on both sides of the aisle to work together. Remember our Gang of 8, and it's failed. And it's failed miserably. And one of the reasons for that, both sides continue to use immigration, especially in an election year, general election year, even more so that's coming up, to use these people and the system as political pawns. Title 42 was never going to be there forever. I think we're very naive or ignorant to think that it was. We had a health crisis. That health crisis is now being lifted on a national level, and we knew that would happen with Title 42. People that were in Mexico weren't going to stay there forever. So, for people to think that any president, and I said this during Trump's presidency as well, to think any president has a magic wand and can make this all better, that is wrong. This is a hugely comprehensive issue. It takes a huge comprehensive solution, and that is not one administration or one president alone.
But to Leslie's, I need to move on to Robbie because we're running out of time. So, Robbie, to Leslie's point, she talks about, political stunts in big general election years. But in 2021, Democrats had the House, Senate, and the presidency. So why didn't they pass something then when they had the numbers? And, you could go back to the Gang of 8 legislation. I don't think that would have worked because you're not going to do anything comprehensive, but they could have done something.
Absolutely. There's no way getting around the fact that President Biden has failed to fix this problem. Alejandro Mayorkas has not done anything constructive here. It's been just a massive failure of the administration. All that said, I understand the point, and it's correct that Congress ultimately needs to do something. We cannot. It was foolish to continue relying on Title 42 because, look, if we believe in law and order, and conservatives believe in that, libertarians believe in that, this immigration control as a pandemic measure never really made any sense. We weren't keeping COVID from entering the country. It's already here. Like, it doesn't make sense. We do need Congress to make it easier for people to come to the country legally and then have border enforcement so we don't have this stream of people in unsafe conditions. It's not good for them either. It would be humanitarian to fix the problem at the congressional level, get immigration under control, solve the labor shortage, but do it in a way that comports with the law.
And be honest about the needs that we have in this country and the capabilities that we have and the support systems that are in place that won't get strained, and go from there. I mean, there's some very practical things you can do, but this whole thing is such a catastrophe, and inaction it only makes it worse. And using someone else's administration as a scapegoat, that also is very immoral. Well, the panel's not going anywhere because we have more to solve. We're back. Welcome, New York Republican Congressman and professional fabulist. I love that term. George Santos today pleading not guilty, I say, to a 13-count federal indictment. Charges include, but are not limited to, wire fraud, money laundering, theft of public funds, and lying to Congress. He's out on $500,000 bond after his arrest this morning. Well, he also had to turn in his passport, so I guess we're not going to Aruba, George. He owns it. Reporters mobbing Santos outside the courthouse earlier, but he says he's not going nowhere. Watch.
I have no desire not to comply at this point. They've been gracious in there. Now I'm going to have to go and fight to defend myself. The reality is sorry, it's a witch hunt. I will not resign.
It's a witch hunt. I love it. He invented that term. He sold it to Donald Trump. He's facing bipartisan calls to resign. But remember, back in March, he was on this showgram and defiantly said this. Roll the tape.
It's not the first time that somebody's told me I don't belong and shut up and sit in the back of the room. And I refuse to do that.
He will not shut up. He will not sit anywhere. He's going to be lying down in a cell. The party panel is back. Jimmy Fallon, Leslie Marshall, Robbie Suave. Jimmy, I'm just thankful to the news gods for providing us an abundance each and every day. Your thoughts, dear?
Well, you're in luck because Santos is not going to resign. He's going to fight to the end like he did at the Alamo. Okay? He's going to hang in there. Yeah. He's just going to keep slugging it out. Like, we're living in the death of shame. Can we just acknowledge that? He is obviously a sociopath. He has no business being in Congress. The problem is, if we're going to throw everybody out of politics who lies as egregiously as he does, there's going to be like 3 people left in Washington. That's the problem.
They're all going to be libertarians.
And can we acknowledge what a spectacular coincidence it was that he got arrested right as they were rolling out those Biden documents earlier in the day? What an uncannily timed thing that was.
That's so weird.
Yeah. I mean, what are the odds?
Leslie, what are the odds?
The only thing that he's ever said that was truthful was, I will not resign. You know, I mean, this is what I have to say is, and I would agree with Jimmy somewhat, not that there'd be 3 people left. And sorry, libertarians are lying when they put an R on their coat instead of an L. But I digress. Look, when you have, he was elected by people. This is what's crazy and concerning about the process, whether it's a Democrat or a Republican. What I do like is hearing Speaker McCarthy say, look, I'm not going to support him in his bid for re-election because Santos says he's going to run for re-election, and he says, I hope he resigns. And I like the president staying out of it and say this is, you know, on Congress to do. Whether it's a Democrat doing this or a Republican doing this or being accused of this, especially if found guilty, your party just can't stand behind you. There has to be some level of shame where you say enough.
Yeah, did you hear that, Denang, Dick, and Elizabeth Warren? You guys are out of there, too. They're all done, Robbie. Sorry. If
Wait.
No.
There's not 13 felony charges, federal charges against them.
Well, maybe they didn't do their homework as well as they should have. So, Robbie, if Hunter Biden is accused of some pretty serious stuff, and he's been under federal investigation for 2 years, how did they cobble this whole Santos case together so quickly?
Yeah, they really spring into action here, huh? And look, I don't want to make any excuses for George Santos because he has admitted to misrepresenting aspects of his biography. That means he doesn't get the benefit of the doubt. Of course, he gets due process and everything, but I think it's absolutely true that he should resign from Congress at this point. But yes, I will say, you're right to bring up the Hunter Biden investigation. And look, I'm sorry, how many members of Congress, had a secret meeting that found out COVID was about to happen and then made an emergency call to their stockbroker to benefit in that way?
That is some Martha Stewart shiz right there.
Yeah. And
Martha Stewart
some
went
members of
downtown
Congress. Certainly. Some members of Congress, actually Matt Gaetz and AOC, coming together to try to limit insider stock trading in Congress. Nancy Pelosi famously fought tooth and nail against it. But there are bigger crimes being committed in Washington on a daily basis, and we should be outraged about that.
Yeah.
But all that said, does not give George Santos off the hook.
No, he's not off the hook, but it sure has been a fun ride. It's almost like Action Park. It's like the most dangerous theme park ever to exist. It's not around anymore, but the stories sure are fun. I really want to thank the party panel.